Welcome to the deep dive. Wow, you've brought together just a fascinating collection for us this time, a real panorama, you know?
It does look like quite a mix, a journey through time and across cultures.
Exactly. We're talking ancient Egypt, Greece, Mesopotamia, then jumping over to Greenland, Bhutan, Germany, touching on Himba and Quechua cultures.
And all mixed in with some pretty cool nature facts and even Christmas traditions.
Yeah. So our mission really is to dig into these nuggets, find the interesting bits, and maybe see how they connect in, well, unexpected ways.
Sounds great. I'm always up for finding those surprising links between things. It's where the real aha moments happen.
Totally. And just to give a quick taste, did you know the ancient Egyptian word for cat was basically meow?
Huh, really? That's simple.
Pretty much. Meow. It's almost spooky, right? Or how about this? The blue whale.
Yeah.
Way bigger than any dinosaur, like 30 T-Rexes long.
Okay, now that's scale. It puts
Yeah.
things in perspective.
Doesn't it? So that's the kind of stuff we're getting into. Okay, let's dive in. Maybe start with those ancient civilizations, see what similarities or differences jump out.
Yeah, good place to start. It's always fascinating how different societies tackled similar problems or just developed completely unique paths. And Egypt, well, that's a huge one.
It really is. I mean, that cat thing is fun, but they're often called the oldest country, right? Going back to like 3100 BCE.
Foundational, absolutely. A
Yeah.
massive civilization.
And here's something that really struck me from the sources. Their legal view of men and women. Apparently, they were seen as essentially equal under the law.
That is striking,
Yeah.
especially for the ancient world,
Yeah. Women could own property, make contracts, marry, divorce, even take people to court. And get this, even slaves had ways to potentially gain freedom.
which is, yeah, a really stark contrast when you think about, say, ancient Greece or Rome later on. It makes you wonder why Egypt developed that way.
Exactly. Maybe something about their economic roles or religion. The sources also mention this balanced view they had of people and animals, like part of a single whole.
Yeah. Cattle were super important, but they also kept sheep, goats, pigs, even bees for honey and wax,
Right. And they had the resources to build big, lots of stone, copper, gold, gems.
which let them build those incredible monuments and make amazing jewelry and tools. They weren't cut off either. They traded for exotic stuff.
And of course, the writing, hieroglyphs, but also hieratic and demotic for like everyday stuff.
And thank goodness for the Rosetta Stone, or we'd still be guessing what it all meant. Writing is just such a game changer for any culture.
Definitely. Oh, and they were apparently really into hygiene. Bathing a lot, shaving, perfumes, makeup.
Suggests a society that really valued appearance and cleanliness. And central to everything, of course, was their religion, the gods, the afterlife.
Mummification, the elaborate tombs. It all stemmed from that deep belief in an afterlife.
Absolutely, it permeated everything.
And they were no slouches at math either. They had a number system, could do calculations, figure out areas for building, basic geometry.
You needed that for the pyramids and temples, for sure. Shows a really organized society.
And here's a mind bender, Cleopatra. She lived closer in time to the iPhone than to the building of the Great Pyramids at Giza.
Wow, that really hammers home the sheer length of ancient Egyptian history, doesn't it? We tend to compress ancient into one block.
Totally. Oh, and one last thing on Egypt, those statues.
Yeah.
Like the Greek and Roman ones we see as white, originally painted bright colors.
Right. Changes how you picture their world completely. Much more vibrant.
Okay, so shifting over to ancient Greece. The sources mention the Mycenaeans around 1600 BCE as the first sort of Greek culture, older than the pyramids were back then.
Yeah, the Mycenaeans are key. Speaking and writing the earliest form of Greek we know, it's interesting they were quite centralized, palatial,
Yeah.
different from the later city-states.
Right. Greece was mostly those independent city-states, wasn't it? Each with its own laws, customs, until Alexander the Great came along much later.
That decentralized nature probably fueled a lot of the philosophical and political diversity Greece is famous for.
Makes sense. And they had some weird superstitions, apparently. Like, some people avoided beans because they thought they had dead people's souls in them.
Huh. Beans. Okay, that's a new one on me. But superstitions were common, right? Bad luck days, the evil eye.
Yeah, the evil eye thing is still around in some places, isn't it? Wild.
It shows how much they felt influenced by unseen forces, by the gods, which ties into their pantheon, Zeus, Athena, Apollo, controlling everything.
And the Olympics, dedicated to the gods, combining sport and religion.
Exactly. They were also big colonizers, spreading out across the Mediterranean and Black Sea. became a major sea power.
And they weren't shy about borrowing good ideas like coinage from other cultures, helped their trade grow.
Very pragmatic.
Yeah.
And socially. Well,
Yeah.
the sources mention male homosexuality being an accepted practice within certain norms.
Right, though marriage and family were still expected for, like, citizenship and heirs.
It was complex, not necessarily mutually exclusive, but part of a different social fabric than ours.
And just to echo the point from Egypt, their statues, also originally painted, we miss that vibrancy looking at the bare marble now.
Absolutely. Imagine the Acropolis in full color.
Mind-blowing. Okay, let's round out this ancient tour with Sumeria, Mesopotamia. Sources say city-states way back in the 4th millennium BCE. Walled cities, ziggurats.
And those amazing irrigation canals. Managing the Tigris and Euphrates was crucial. The Sumerians really laid the groundwork for later Mesopotamian civilizations.
Pioneers, really. And get this, they developed some of the earliest law codes, even before Hammurabi.
That's huge. Establishing written legal principles that early on shows incredible social organization.
And they didn't stop there. Early map making, cartography, and their ideas apparently influenced Greek philosophy and town planning later on.
You see these threads connecting across cultures and time. The Sumerians left a massive legacy, really, in law, urban life, even early science and thought.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. From these big civilizations to, well, the deeper human story, early humans. It's kind of staggering to think there were once like 9 different human species walking the earth.
It really is. Puts our own existence as Homo sapiens into perspective.
Why us?
Why do the others disappear? Big questions.
Totally. And we find these little glimpses into their lives, like finding grass bedding used in South Africa 200,000 years ago.
Simple, yet profound. Shows planning, comfort, resourcefulness,
Mhm.
even that long ago.
But then there are these massive events, like the Toba supervolcano eruption, maybe 74,000 years ago. Huge volcanic winter, possibly nearly wipe humans out.
The scale of Toba is almost unimaginable. The environmental impact would have been catastrophic.
Yeah.
Surviving that, it's incredible.
And here's the kicker. The evidence, especially from southern Africa, suggests humans there didn't just survive, they kind of thrive.
Really, through a volcanic winter.
Yeah. That's the million-dollar question. Archaeology shows they kept hunting, making tools, using fire, staying put for generations. But how they managed when the climate was likely devastated? Well, that's still a bit of a mystery.
That resilience is just, wow. It speaks volumes about their adaptability, their knowledge, maybe social cooperation. Whatever it was, it worked.
It really challenges assumptions about how fragile early humans might have been. Okay, so from deep human history to the natural world. Some amazing facts here, too.
Nature's always got surprises up its sleeve, doesn't it?
For sure. We mentioned the blue whale, already largest animal ever. Dwarfs the biggest dinosaurs. Just wrap your head around that.
Mind-boggling skill.
And forests, they can actually influence rainfall.
Yeah, through evapotranspiration.
Yeah.
Trees release water vapor, which helps form clouds. It shows how interconnected ecosystems are. Forests aren't just standing there. They're active participants in the climate.
Wow. And sharks swim around for over 400 million years. Way before dinosaurs.
Ancient survivors. And their skeletons are cartilage, not bone, which is interesting. Different evolutionary path.
And dolphins. The sources suggest they might show empathy.
It's a fascinating area of research. Suggests really complex social intelligence, maybe even emotions we recognize.
Wouldn't that be something? And even trees have defenses. If insects attack, they can flood their leaves with chemicals to taste bad or be poisonous.
Like a silent chemical warfare. Nature's arms race.
Ah, exactly. And here's a fun fact. Orcas, killer whales, they're actually the biggest dolphins.
Right, the name whale is a bit misleading, taxonomically speaking. They're toothed whales, part of the dolphin family.
Always learning something new. Okay, let's travel north. Greenland. We think ice, right? But apparently summers can be pretty warm, especially down south.
Yeah, that icy reputation isn't the whole story. Coastal areas can get quite green and mild in summer.
And it's got the most active glacier in the northern hemisphere. Kujalek, calving massive icebergs.
An incredible natural spectacle. But interestingly, unlike nearby Iceland with all its volcanoes and geysers, Greenland has very few hot springs. Only one easily accessible one, apparently.
Huh. Different geology at play. And trees are rare, too. The biggest forests are more like shrubby areas in the south.
Yeah, the climate and soil conditions limit tree growth over most of the island.
It's supposed to be amazing for seeing the northern lights. Long, dark winters, not much light pollution.
Ideal conditions, really.
Yeah.
That long Arctic night provides a perfect canvas for the aurora. Must be incredible.
Which kind of leads us into culture, right? How people live in these places. Let's start with Bhutan. Some really unique things there. Like, you can't climb the highest mountains, over 6,000 meters.
That's right, they're considered sacred homes of deities. So Genkar Puensum, their highest peak, is famously the world's highest unclimbed mountain.
Wow. Talk about prioritizing spirituality over mountaineering fame.
It's a core part of their national identity and
Yeah.
values. And their national animal is, well, it's unusual, the takin.
Yeah. Legend says a saint stuck a goat's head on a cow's body.
It perfectly illustrates how myth and nature weave into their culture. And Bhutan was famously isolated until 1974 when tourism started.
Pretty recent, which probably helped preserve a lot of traditions, like the national dress the go for men, cura for women being compulsory for official stuff.
It's a very visible commitment to maintaining their cultural heritage, a conscious choice.
And then there's the phallus art, prominent, especially around fertility temples like Chimi Lahang.
Yes, it's quite distinctive.
Yeah.
A cultural expression tied to fertility, blessings, driving away evil spirits. Different from Western sensibilities, certainly.
Definitely different. And no traffic lights in the capital. Banned plastic bags way back in '99, introduced TV only in '98.
It paints a picture of a country deliberately choosing its own pace of modernization, focusing on things like gross national happiness instead of just GDP.
And they drink butter tea, Suja, made with yak butter and salt.
A staple. And it's polite to refuse food the first time it's offered. Oh, and polygamy is allowed. Quite a unique mix of customs.
Truly. Okay, switching to Germany. Maybe less overtly unusual to us, but the sources highlight it as a huge hub for international students. Lots of English programs, relatively cheap.
Yeah, Germany's really invested in its university system and attracts talent from everywhere. Strong academics, accessible programs. It's a smart strategy.
And football, or foosball, it's massive there, right? Tons of fan clubs and national teams hugely successful.
Oh, absolutely. Football is deeply woven into the cultural fabric. It's a huge source of national pride and social connection.
Okay, now let's jump to Namibia. The Himba people, semi-nomadic pastoralists, known for that red paste, eyes.
Right, made from butterfat and ochre. They apply it to their skin and hair. It's cosmetic, practical for sun protection, and deeply cultural. Along with their traditional clothes and jewelry, they've maintained their way of life remarkably well.
A real testament to cultural resilience. And similarly, in Peru, the Quechua people in the Andes, they predate the Incas.
And still maintain a strong identity. Their language, their incredible textiles woven from alpaca wool, natural dyes. World-famous stuff.
And they've adapted to that high-altitude life, which shapes their food and culture, too.
Another example of enduring heritage and adaptation.
And one last quirky cultural note from Greenland. Those Peeler Susak supermarkets in small towns. They apparently sell everything from rifles and ammo to reindeer antlers and also fruit and pastries.
That paints a picture, doesn't it? The ultimate general store for remote Arctic life, meeting every possible need in one place.
You got it. Okay, finally. Let's hit some of those unexpected historical connections and mythbusters. These are always fun.
Yeah, history's full of weird twists and things you think we know but don't.
Exactly. Like Christmas wasn't always December 25th. That date only got locked in around 336 AD.
And gift-giving. It's a mix, right? Christian roots, wise men, St. Nicholas, but also pagan stuff like Saturnalia.
And evergreens for winter solstice, that's ancient too, predates Christmas celebration.
Traditions often borrow and blend over time. Very few spring up completely new.
And how about this? Astronauts on Gemini 6 playing Jingle Bells from space in '65 as a prank.
Seriously.
Yeah.
A harmonica and sleigh bells in orbit. That's amazing. A very unique Christmas carol performance.
Isn't it? On a more serious note, though, dry Christmas trees cause hundreds of fires every year in the U.S.
Keep 'em watered, folks.
Good PSA. Safety first during the holidays.
Right. Okay. Rapid-fire history facts. American Revolution before the French Revolution.
Check.
Shortest war. Anglo-Zanzibar. 38 minutes.
Incredible. Blink and you'd miss it.
Mongol Empire. Largest contiguous land empire ever.
Vast.
Printing press. Gutenberg, around 1440. Game changer.
Absolutely transformative.
Sandwich, named after an 18th century earl.
The gambler. Need a free hand.
Florence Nightingale had a pet owl and thought animals could help patients.
Athena. Yeah, quite progressive thinking on pet therapy. Way ahead of her time.
Pocahontas, the real story, is very different from Disney. Married an Englishman, buried in Kent, England.
Yeah, the historical reality is often much more complex and less romantic than the myths.
Charles Dickens was scared of trains after being in a crash.
Understandable phobia. Charles II was technically king even when Cromwell was in charge.
Legally, yes. The concept of the monarchy continued, even without a sitting monarch. Weird quirk of law.
Vikings. No horned helmets. That was opera costumes later on.
One of the most persistent historical myths.
Rome still uses an aqueduct built by the ancient Romans, the Aqua Virgine.
Amazing engineering feat, still working today.
Jericho. Maybe the oldest continuously inhabited city.
Incredible longevity.
World's first novel, often cited as The Tale of Genji from 11th century Japan.
Murasaki Shikibu. A masterpiece.
Latvian Vikings, the Curonians, called the last pagans for resisting Christianity so long.
Stubborn bunch.
And an ancient Greek guy, Heron of Alexandria, invented a vending machine in the 1st century AD.
Unbelievable. Selling holy water, apparently. Basic automation. Thousands of years ago.
Just, wow, okay, we have covered so much ground.
We really have. From ancient cats saying meow to vending machines in antiquity.
Yeah. Through supervolcano survivors, warm Greenland summers, sacred mountains in Bhutan, colorful ancient statues, it's just a reminder that history and nature are packed with layers and surprises.
Absolutely. Always more to uncover, always assumptions to challenge.
Which kind of brings us to a final thought.
Oh.
Thinking about things like the Egyptians' legal rights for women, which seem pretty advanced for the time, or how early humans survived Toba, it makes you wonder, what things are we doing now, or what beliefs do we hold that future generations will look back on and think, wow, they really overlooked that, or they were surprisingly strong in this area we didn't expect?
That's a great question. What facts do we take for granted today that might get completely overturned, like realizing those Greek statues were actually painted? What are our modern unpainted statues?
Exactly. What are our blind spots or our hidden strengths? Something to chew on, for sure. Thanks for digging deck with us today.